Hi, this is the evaluation of the orderIT trading system for January the 6th, 2021. There were 7 trades on that day, 6 were buys, and 1 was a short sell. First trade is DVAX. That's Dynavax Technologies Corporation. It tripped at 12:48:01 p.m. at a price of $4.69. It was a buy trade, and it closed at 460, so it closed below. It was up 0.66%. We'll see if there's any point. So tripping around this point, 469, 469, 467, 468. There's not really much opportunity, as you can see. At the end of the day, it actually came down. We'll see if this is a possibility, though. Yeah. MACD is showing fairly strong. At the end of the day, it's actually showing a good strong. It did drop, it did recover pretty much where it dropped from, even though it had dropped in the early afternoon. MACD was overall good, positive again, end of the day positive, and missed off again. It was just dropping in the afternoon and it really shut it down. It did look like a potential possible, not a high level possible, but it does look like a possible. There's no morning activity to identify, a potential direction, so it's not a conclusion of the concrete possible, but I think there is a possible trade there. Next trade is CCL. I said there is actually, I'm sorry, I thought I said there was only a couple of buys, but actually more buys and shorts. Okay. Next trade is CCL. CCL is Carnival Corporation PLC. It tripped at 12:50 p.m. at a price of $20.68. It was a buy trade, and so it closed the day at $20.40. It was down actually 0.97%. It did rise this morning up to $20.45, so it looks like early morning it's rising. We'll see here. Okay, here. Look. 12:50, and it came up in the afternoon. 2073, 22. Okay. We're talking almost an hour here at least. Well, actually, 12:50. 12:50 is down here. It's actually much more, like from around 1 o'clock to over 2 o'clock. So we got over an hour of trading activity where it was above its tripping price, so that's a positive. Go take a look at the indicator to see what it's showing. OBV, not drastic. It's somewhat moving sideways on OBV buys. MACD, it had this rise in the morning, moved sideways, dropped in the afternoon, moved up again, so it looked like it was making somewhat of a recovery MACD-wise. VI-wise, almost half-half, positive, negative, and you can see it was actually afternoon, it was actually moving negative. And Bollinger Band showing the same thing. It did have this rise from late morning to early afternoon, and then dropped off in the afternoon. So it did look like it was reversing a bit, but there was opportunity during the daytime for that stock. Next trade is IPEX. That's Ideanomics. I think that's pronounced that way. Ideanomics Incorporated. It tripped at 2:55:01 p.m. at a price of $2.19. That was a short sell. It closed at $2.19. It was down to 6.41%. You can see though it's making a huge recovery early morning now. So possible trade if this doesn't go down. It's not there obviously. So we'll check to see. It tripped at 255. 221, 217 to 18, and then here 216. It's interesting because it's showing here, but there's a good half an hour here at the end of the day where it was down below its tripping price, which would have made that a positive trade. This is a good example of getting out during the day on a day trade activity, because that's been used early morning. It's got a good amount of recovery on this stock. So let's just check to see if the indicators are showing a negative direction. OBV is not. OBV is showing it was down morning and up afternoon. MACD, interestingly enough, is actually showing that it dropped fairly heavily in the early, well, actually mid-afternoon it dropped and it made a recovery. And DI showing the same thing. Actually, DI showing very strong negative activity. It looked like the majority of the day it was negative, so it's pretty much consistent. And Bollinger Band, it actually just showing a pretty much steady decline, even though you saw this bit of a peak here, positive direction moving in the mid-afternoon, which is what we saw above, obviously. But it was still, even after that, still came down below. So it was a stock that was moving downwards. Next trade is MOS. That's the Mosaic company. They tripped at 3:15:21 p.m. at a price of 26.01. It was a buy trade. It closed the day at 26.05, up 6.11%. So that is another positive trade. We'll take a look to see what the indicators are going to show for that. OBV showing somewhat a good upward, continuous upward rise. MACD is actually down early, early, mid-afternoon is when it started to recording, and in the afternoon is where it came up, which is where it obviously tripped. Interestingly enough, though, DI is showing from its recording period that it was actually positive for most of that time. It was down here, which is what this point here in the middle was, which was the big drop in MACD-wise, but then recovered. And Bollinger Band actually just showing a fairly steady incline. So that stock technically was moving positive. Next trade is HL. Excuse me. And that's Hecla Mining Company. It tripped at 3:15:27 p.m. and again in the afternoon, 6:95 was a trip. It closed the day at 6.97, up 0.14%, so that's another positive trade. I'll check to see if the indicators are going to show that also. Yeah, OBD is showing it up. MACD showed that it did drop in the afternoon, but then recovered, which is where it tripped. DI showing pretty much it was positive for most of the day. We did have that drop a little bit in the mid-afternoon. And Bollinger Band just showing that that stock was moving upwards. The stock was moving positive. Next trade is CNC. And that's Centene Corporation. They tripped at 3:15:30 p.m. Price is 67.63. It was a buy trade. It closed the day at 67.65, up 10.77%. So that's another positive trade. It's the end of the day trade, so these are always very hard to evaluate because they're at the end of the day, and the end of the day is always a questionable point in time. But OBD is shown for that stock at 15.27. Well, that was the other stock. The stock we just looked at. 15.35. No. This one 13.15. I had the two stocks backwards. I'm going to have to move these back somehow. This was the 15.30. Yeah, that was moving up pretty much positive. One before that, which was another positive trade, Actually, was showing, yeah, that one was positive too. So these two stocks were showing positive movement. Next trade is CNK. That's Cinemark Holdings Incorporated. It tripped at 335.04 at a price of 17.15. And again, it was a buy trade. It closed 17.16. It's a difficult one, but again, just looking at it, there was where it was above it by a couple of cents, so there was more than just a 1 cent rise on that stock. But it still was closing above its tripping price. And we'll check to see what the indicators are showing. 35, yeah, that's the right one. Will be somewhat positive, but actually the beginning was moving sideways, a bit of positive, being a positive, so bouncing back and forth. Nike showing the same thing. It's coming down a little bit in the morning, early afternoon. Came up and then had the drop and then that recovery in the afternoon. And DI showing showing a greater than 50% positive movement. You have saw this big negative movement in the mid-afternoon, which is showing the Bollinger Band. Bollinger Band now is showing some of what we're seeing in the indicators, which is sideways movements for the most part, not drop in the recovery. So the stock it was moving positive again. The stock, it didn't say, but it did move up 2.44%. So that technically is 6 out of 7 trades. They traded positively, which is 86%, and I'm going to say possible percent is actually 100%. I'm going to start including that in my calculations, just so people understand that there's two potentials here, one in absolute and one in possible. And for both of them, they're both very, very high. So that was that day. Again, a very good day. I thank you for watching. Bye-bye.